Steel City. Is everybody ready to go? Let's proclaim the greatest radio show.
Welcome, fans, to the Week 9 Steelers recap. I'm your host, Jim Sella, here with Jay Dash. The Pittsburgh Steelers took on the Baltimore Ravens. Ben Roethlisberger ended up playing. Still wasn't a very good outcome. Dash, I don't think either one of us really thought that the Steelers, even if they won this game, were going to win by a blowout. But I didn't think that the offense would be so inept until the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I mean, really, Big Ben looked like Landry Jones, to tell you the truth. But the only reason this game ended up as a 7-point loss is because of the defense. The defense actually played a solid game outside of that big play in the first quarter to Mike Wallace.
Yeah, that was just a missed tackle by Artie Burns and Mike Mitchell being old, slow, and pathetic and not being able to keep up with Mike Wallace.
Yeah, Artie Burns, I mean, he made a mistake there. But overall, I heard coming into the week that he was going to take Willie Gay's job starting this past week. Now, is Willie Gay injured or something?
No, they're just moving Artie outside because they don't like him at the nickelback. And they've always liked Gay better at nickelback. So
I agree with that.
Using Artie on the outside and Gay's playing nickelback. And they run so much nickel anyway that it's like they're both starting, basically.
I tell you what, though, Artie Burns, he, like you said, he made a mistake or two here and there, but he actually came up and played a solid game. He had the pick, obviously, which wasn't a great play or anything, but he was around the ball a lot, too. In the backfield some, he was all over the place, man.
I agree. This was a young guy with some raw talent. The Steelers said that he might not make a big impact early in the season, but he definitely could, towards the middle and end of the year. We're at the midway point right now as far as the Steelers season at 4-4. They got 8 games remaining, and I think Artie has a good chance at making a run and an impact here in these last few games. I know last year you had Bud Dupree. He didn't start right away at the beginning of the year. He was rotating with Arthur Moats, but he did end up starting about halfway through the year and kind of hit a rookie wall. So I think we'll be able to avoid that with Artie, considering he didn't play a lot early, so he'll be able to play a lot down the stretch and hopefully get better.
Yeah, and it was nice to see Cam Hayward back. Ryan Shazier looked good in this game as well. It's nice to have Ryan Shazier back. So you see, when this defense gets healthy, man, they can still stop teams from scoring points.
Speaking of defense, we completely forgot to even talk about it in the preview. Eric Weddle signed with the Baltimore Ravens in the offseason as opposed to the Pittsburgh Steelers. They were 2 of, 4 teams I think he had left on his list, and he said he thought Baltimore had a better chance at winning now. Is he still correct, or was this just a bad game for Pittsburgh?
Well, I mean, it could be both. It was definitely a bad game for Pittsburgh, but right now, I mean, the Baltimore Ravens lead the division, man. The Steelers cannot win on the road. I know Big Ben coming back off an injury isn't that great. It took him 3 quarters to actually start to do something. He looked good in the fourth quarter. Big Ben looked pretty good in the fourth quarter, and that gives you some hope moving forward. But, I mean, the Steelers can't win on the road, man. It's hard to say if the Ravens are any worse. They definitely don't have the talent Pittsburgh has, but Pittsburgh just lays over on the road.
Where's the hurry-up offense this year? We heard about it all off-season. We were going to use it a lot. Did they maybe not use it this week because Ben's knee was maybe still a little tender and they didn't want to keep rushing him up to the line and not want the line, maybe missing a call because things were moving too fast?
I mean, obviously it had to do with the injury. Ben, he was healthy enough to play, I guess, but you could see he wasn't fully 100%. There's no way he could have run the no-huddle in this game. But really, you're right. We haven't seen it much this season. You gotta do something here on the road. I'm not really worried at home when Big Ben plays, but on the road, you got to find a way to win games. You got to mix something up here, and no huddle would be a good way to start.
The Steelers were terrible in the first half, especially. They only had 23 offensive snaps in the first half. That's pathetic.
Yeah, I mean, it's not only. I mean, the defense played well. The offense looked like crap. They had nothing going in the run game. Le'Veon Bell ended up with 32 yards rushing in this game, a 2.3-yard average. D'Angelo Williams had 1 carry, and Ben was off his game. The special teams was horrible in his game as well. What they had, they let up a block punt. They didn't even block the guy. Came right in. That was a touchdown there in the third quarter. And they had a roughing the punter at one point as well to keep a drive going for Baltimore. So I think after this game, I'd take a look at the special teams coach and ask him what the hell's going on and maybe look for a new one.
The Steelers really shot themselves in the foot in the first half with all the penalties, 10 penalties for 84 yards in the first half alone. Harrison was involved with a holding call, missed opportunities on third down. What were they on third down at that point? 0 for 7. I mean, this offense just wasn't giving them any help. You're completely right when it comes to special teams. They've been lackluster. There's nothing that really stands out at all from the special teams for me this year. I think Jordan Berry's kicking the ball well, but aside from that, they pretty much haven't done anything. Boswell had that botched, I can't even pronounce the word they tried to use, onside kick. Mike Tomlin
that
says
was
he
hilarious, man. What the hell is that?
Apparently they practice that all the time, and Boswell, he gets it done in practice all the time. And Mike Tomlin said that he would let him do it again. He was just a little disappointed that Boswell couldn't come through in crunch time, but apparently they have perfected that play, and they just didn't do it right this time. But it looked pathetic. The fact that he even kicked it again made it more pathetic because he just kind of looked like disgusted at himself, and he just booted it.
All right, back to the offense for a minute here. Big Ben obviously played a bad game, and I think that played into why Le'Veon Bell didn't do so good on the ground, because they kind of forced Ben to throw. They knew he wasn't 100%. He wasn't playing that well in this game, so they kind of forced him to throw a little bit. He had 45 passes in this game compared to just 14 rushes for Le'Veon Bell. Now, Eli Rogers, he came up with a solid game, 103 yards receiving. He looks pretty good to me, and hopefully he can stay involved moving forward. But the big key here is the loss of that big play, that deep ball guy in Sammy Coates, man. He had 0 catches in his game on 5 targets. And really, since he fell off, the Steelers have not looked the same offensively. I mean, last year it was Martavis Bryant coming up with that play. This year at the beginning of the season, it was Sammy Coates. Now, he completely fell off the map, and this offense looks completely different. Until they find that guy, I mean, it's going to have to be Sammy Coates, too. No one else is going to step up like Darius Hayward-Bay or anything, I don't think.
I think his foot's probably broken.
Yeah, he actually got injured in this game. But, I mean, Sammy Coates got to step up and be that receiver he showed at the beginning of the year, because it looked like he was taking over Martavis Bryant's role. But without that guy, man, this offense is going to struggle.
The offense needs somebody to start producing other than Antonio Brown. And even Brown early in the game wasn't doing much. It wasn't really till the fourth quarter that he was really able to pad his stats. I think the Steelers lost a little bit when Marquise Pouncey got hurt early in the game. They weren't really able to run the football. Le'Veon Bell, I know the offensive line struggled a little bit, but he's got to do better to try to get into some open space. I like Le'Veon's running style, and I don't have a problem with him being patient in the backfield. I think it's one of his best attributes. But it almost seems like he's not hitting the hole fast enough right now, or maybe the offensive line is just not giving him one.
I think it has to do with something with the Baltimore Ravens, too. I mean, they're still a pretty solid team at stopping the run. You got to beat them by passing the ball. That's the way to beat them. And with Le'Veon Bell's running style, I mean, against the Ravens, man, you got to get what you can get and get it quick. You know what I mean?
Yeah, B.J. Finney came in and missed a couple plays. I have read an article today that Roethlisberger said there were a couple times when Finney snapped the ball on the wrong count. The big hit that Roethlisberger took, I forget who got to him, but he said one of the big reasons there was because of Finney not snapping the ball at the right time. So the offense just didn't look in sync at all. I'm hearing a lot of chatter again on social media that Mike Tomlin should be fired. And we've talked a little bit about it on the show. The coaches can only do so much, if you ask me, to get these players ready to play. I mean, the players win football games. They go out there and perform. Tomlin can tell these guys whatever he wants. I think it's on the players. Somebody in the locker room, a player needs to step up and be like, what the hell are we doing? And really call this team out, because it just seems like they're not even trying almost when they're on the road. At home, they look so excited to play. They're flying around out there. And I'm not hating on the defense too much from this week because they played pretty well. But the offense on the road especially, they're just god-awful. Maybe Todd Haley needs to go.
Like I said, Todd Haley's offense doesn't work on the road. Now, when you say fire Mike Tomlin, it's hard, but, I mean, he has something to do with them not playing well on the road. He got to figure something out. But in this game, I mean, if the special teams would have just did their job, they didn't have to do anything great. I don't expect anything from the kick return game. I don't think anyone expects much from the punt return game. I guess you could, though, with them putting the Antonio Brown back there. But just do your job, and you're in this game in the end.
I told some of my friends and I told Audrey before the game even started, I didn't think it was going to be a great game for Pittsburgh, and even if they won, it was going to be rough sledding. I couldn't believe the pathetic effort. What was their total yards at the end of the first half? 60?
Yeah, it was bad. Definitely. I mean, they got shut out in the first half. It was 10-0 at halftime.
Yeah, they had 66 total yards in the first half, 0 for 7 on third down. They were 7 of 14 passing for 50 yards. They had 10 rushes for 16 yards. They only held the ball for 13 minutes.
Yeah, and it's not like Baltimore's offense was doing anything. The Steelers' defense shut down the run game. We talked about Terrence West over or under 74 yards. He had 21 yards rushing in his game, so they had nothing going on the ground. Joe Flacco wasn't good. I mean, he had that one pass to Mike Wallace. That's 95 yards. He had 241 yards in the game, one touchdown. That was the Mike Wallace deep ball, and he had that pick to Artie Burns. So Joe Flacco did nothing in this game. It's just... I mean, the offense just completely lost this game, along with the special teams, obviously, like I was saying. But this defense, I mean, they played well enough where they should have definitely won this game. It comes down to 2 plays. That's all it came down to in this game was the deep ball and the block punt for a touchdown.
I think the 13 penalties for 99 yards had a lot to do with it, too. That was the one thing that the defense, I'm not saying all the penalties were theirs because they weren't, but that would be the only criticism I'd have of the defense. They just had a couple inopportune penalties. They had that too many men on the field penalty near the end of the first half. Harrison had a holding
I think
call.
that was special teams, wasn't it?
I'm not sure if it was special teams or not. I can't remember.
I thought that was a field goal situation or something.
It doesn't matter. Whoever got the penalties, they were miserable. You can't win when you're getting penalized for 100 freaking yards. The Steelers had, I forget what year it was. Was it like 3 years ago, maybe? They had the whole season. They were just getting penalized 10 times every game. It was horrible. We kept getting pass interference penalties. That to me goes to the coaching staff. That's where I think Tomlin's really got to get in these guys' heads and say, hey, this is unacceptable. And if players keep doing it, you got to do something, even if it's just benching them for a half or a game or something. It's you just can't win football games like this. You're an undisciplined football team. Your defense is mediocre to good, so they can win you maybe a game or two throughout the year, but they're going to need a little help. They stood up in this game. They tried to help Pittsburgh win this football game. The offense couldn't get it done. The special teams couldn't get it done. It was just pathetic. The one good note, James Harrison got his first sack of the year.
And his second sack. Again, the Baltimore Ravens, I don't really take this as, all right, now he's going to break out or anything. When he plays the Baltimore Ravens, he loves it, and he has a big game. Now, Easy during the game, man, I was watching the game here with Easy. It was probably right before halftime he started saying, put in Landry Jones, take out Ben, he's playing like crap. And I mean, he said it all through the third quarter. And I kept saying, nah, just go down with Ben if you have to. Just keep playing him. What would you have done? I mean, he was playing terrible. There's no doubt about it. But I still thought at that point Ben had a better chance of turning it around rather than Landry coming in and doing something.
Yeah, if you have Ben to start the game, you ride Ben out through the whole game unless physically he can't do it. He's not going to get any better by sitting down. Landry Jones certainly isn't going to come in and win the game for you. He may not lose the game, but he's not a guy that's going to provide some kind of spark and rally the troops. I don't even think Antonio Brown's ever caught a touchdown pass from Landry Jones. Pretty sure Roethlisberger's the only one to ever throw a touchdown pass to Brown. So if you were going to win that football game, it was going to be with Big Ben, and it just didn't happen in the first 3 quarters. We said it, man. He's not good coming back from injury. He wasn't even 100%. Like you said earlier in the episode, you could see it out on the field. He was moving around, but he was moving around out of necessity, not really because he wanted to. The one thing I thought was funny when it comes to quarterback injuries, Flacco, when he had that long run early in the second half and he did that pathetic baseball slide to try to not get hit.
Well, I don't know if it was pathetic. What happened was his knee brace got caught in the ground.
No, I know. The slide itself was pathetic. I just thought it was like he just did a horrible job trying to slide. And then the announcers were like, oh, no, he's hurt.
Yeah,
he's going out with a knee issue. It was clearly the knee brace.
Yeah, I know. So stupid.
The announcers also said the Steelers haven't had a sack in back-to-back games all season. We did it against KC and the Jets, so I wouldn't take much of what they have to say.
Yeah, I think we had 7 in a 2-game stretch there. But
I just thought it was funny. It did look like Flacco's knee was like completely shredded for a second just because of the way
yeah,
the brace broke.
and he was like hopping, but that was just
Yeah.
because it wasn't working right. But back to Big Ben real quick, though, you could take something out of this game from him too, though. Even though it did take him 3 quarters to get going, that fourth quarter looked pretty good, and they actually had a chance there. Not in the end. I think it was 21-7 at the time, and they went for it on fourth down in Baltimore's end and didn't make the play, so they turned the ball over. But then they came down and scored another touchdown. So there was time there, and they could have tied it up there in the fourth quarter at 21 and sent it to overtime.
I think the only chance they really had at winning the game near the end in that fourth quarter was when Big Ben hit Sammy Coates in the end zone, and Coach, I mean, I
Dropped
don't
it.
want to blame it on him. He bobbled it, didn't catch it. He could have brought that pass down for a touchdown. He definitely could have. I kind of thought after that if they didn't get it in the end zone on the next few plays, that just really wasn't going to be enough time and enough plays to get it, tied up. But if they would have got that touchdown right there, they probably tie that football game up. Even if they lose it in overtime, I think they could have tied it up if they get that touchdown pass right there. So I agree. I think there's a lot of good to see out of Roethlisberger from that fourth quarter. He seemed to get back in a rhythm. Ben is a guy that has to practice. He needs to be in the games to play well. He's not really a guy that can come in rusty. That Cleveland game where Landry got hurt early, Ben came in, threw for like 500 yards and 25 touchdowns. That was the only time Roethlisberger's ever come in rusty and played well. So I think it's good looking ahead into this Dallas game. And I fully expect the offense to get back on track in this Dallas game. Now, are they going to score 30 points? Who knows? Marquise Pouncey's rumored to play in that game. Ladarius Green is rumored to be able to play in that game.
That could be big.
And Bud Dupree might actually come back for the defense. So all that could really help out the Steelers team. They just need to get healthy. Big Ben said it in an interview today, or it was yesterday maybe. The Steelers have rallied in the second half of the season many times with him at quarterback. They did it last year. They were, 6-2 down the stretch, I think it was, because they were 4-4 at one point. They finished 10-6.
Let's not forget they were 0-4 the one season too.
Yeah, the division's still in hand. We still control our own destiny. Keep winning football games. Beat Baltimore when we play them in Pittsburgh. I know Baltimore has the tiebreaker right now, but I'm not in full-on panic mode. I think injuries really caught up to this football team. Think about this too, man. Roethlisberger's contract is huge. Lawrence Timmons is making about $15 million this year. Antonio Brown's making about $10 million this year. Cam Hayward's making a lot of money. We don't have great depth, the Steelers, right now. So when all these injuries just keep coming and keep coming and keep coming, something's got to give. The next man up is a great mentality. Every team has it. Every team tries to play by it, but it will catch up to you no matter how good of a football team you are. And the Steelers just unfortunately don't have great depth, and it cost them this week. And then, poor play of the offense.
Yeah, I mean, they have a lot of work to do at 4-4. You got to win a lot of games from here on out. But, I mean, this division sucks, to tell you the truth.
I think 10-6 still wins the division.
Yeah, I mean, Baltimore at the top of the division at 4-4, holding a tiebreaker over Pittsburgh. This division is no better than Indianapolis's division, the AFC South. I mean, it doesn't look like a good division right now. And the Steelers have the most talent in this division still, to me. So I still think they have a chance to win this division. I don't think they're a Super Bowl team this year, though, because they just look bad on the road, and they're going to have to win on the road in the playoffs. It's too late to win a home seed in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's the one thing I agree. There's no way they're getting the number one seed. Nobody's going to take it away from New England in the AFC. I really don't think. They're not going to falter enough. I think Oakland will stumble in a game or two. I think Denver could still stumble. No, that doesn't mean they're going to miss the playoffs. I just don't think they're going to be able to compete for the number one seed with New England. So I think New England all but has that wrapped up. So I think the Steelers could possibly land at a 3 or 4 spot, would probably be the top record. I don't know if Oakland or Denver will stumble enough to fall behind the Steelers record-wise. So I think Pittsburgh's realistically looking at a 3-4 or maybe even a 5-6 slot in the playoffs.
I think the most important thing for Pittsburgh moving forward, I mean, I know the run game didn't do good this past week, but yeah, you can obviously trust Le'Veon Bell, and the run game looked pretty good throughout most of the season. But I think it's Sammy Coates, man. We've seen Eli Rogers come back and have a good game. We know we can trust the Antonio Brown. I think Sammy Coates is the key to this offense to win games moving forward.
Do you have an offensive player of the game from this week?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to give it to Eli Rogers. 103 yards receiving, 6 catches, 10 targets. So
I guess he's the only one that deserves it, right?
yeah, I mean, it's really hard to pick anyone else. I'm not going to give it to Le'Veon. I'm not going to give it to the offensive line, obviously. You can't give it to Ben, although he had a good fourth quarter. There's really no one to give it to outside of Eli, man. I guess you could say Antonio Brown. He scored that touchdown. Nice pass from Ben.
Hey, David Johnson caught a pass and ran for a first down, didn't he? That should count for something. That guy's slower than balls.
Yeah, 15-yard reception.
Please believe he's my player of the game. He didn't die of a heart attack running after he caught the ball.
How about defensively?
You know what? I'm going to give it to Ari Burns. I think the young guy deserves it. I know he missed a tackle on that play with Mike Wallace, but I think he stepped up and showed why the Steelers really took him in the first round. He had that pick. Like you said early in the episode, he was really around the ball a lot, and I think he's really starting to catch on. And he's a bigger physical guy, and I think this guy can continue to grow for the Steelers, and he'll be a good corner for Pittsburgh in the likes of maybe even Ike Taylor in his prime, but I think he'll actually be able to catch the football if it hits him in the face.
I'm going to give it to James Harrison. He always steps up against Baltimore. 2 sacks in this game, 6 tackles. That was third on the team. Like I said, Ryan Shazier had a very good game, too. You could give it to him. But I'm going to go James Harrison because he's not going to get it much this season.
So on social media now, Ryan Shazier is off the hook. He is no longer the Steelers player made of glass. It is now Marquise Pouncey.
Well, I mean, you could pick both of those guys, and you could have picked them at any point this season.
Any Steeler that gets hurt is made of glass, according to social media. So you're not allowed to get hurt ever if you're a Pittsburgh
Well,
Steeler.
those two have
Roethlisberger.
been injured.
When he got hurt, they're like, "Oh, he's made of glass." Like I don't get it. Players get hurt, man. Go look at all the great players in the NFL. They miss games.
I mean, you could just go look around the NFL right now. A lot of good players are out.
Believe it. Anything else about this game, pathetic game, whatever you want to call it?
No, just moving forward, man. It's going to be tough this week. You don't want to move to 4-5, but you got a real tough matchup.
It's going to be rough. Fans, questions, or comments, hit us up on Twitter at bet_the_spread. Hit me up on Twitter at betjimthewin. Check out the Facebook page, facebook.com/betthespread. Keep coming back to YouTube and click and subscribe. Thank God Donald Trump won, because if Hillary won, we probably would have got shut down, because wouldn't nobody be allowed to have no fun.